drama for second, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think we're all conflicted, aren't we, a little bit, because we dreamed of winning the title for so long, and it was there for us at one point. We were in pole position. So I think it's okay to feel disappointed that we didn't win the league. But I think the reality of it is that Manchester City are an awesome team. They won the treble.
Yep.
They'll go down in history as one of the best in this generation. So there's no shame in losing the title to Manchester City. So my overall reflection is, despite feeling disappointed we couldn't get it over the line, absolutely buzzing at the quality that we saw. It was great. It was absolutely superb, wasn't it, for most of the season? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The reason that we've got Declan Rice is because of how we performed last season. There's no way that we would have been on his radar had we not played as well as we did, had we not been in that title race. So I think there's a lot to be thankful for. Massive step in the right direction. And hopefully that's just the start. Hopefully we get better now.
And you said it there, man. It just feels like the start. As you can see with our squad, with the exception of a couple names, the core nucleus haven't exactly hit their peak. They're all kind of building into it. And you mentioned Declan Rice, and that's a very interesting comment, because he's actually spoken about how the season we finished fifth, how that was optimistic, and obviously last season. And, the year we finished fifth, we missed out on top four. We've obviously done it now. Hopefully that's a good omen for things like that. Carrying on the theme with last season, where do you think it was lost then against City? Because as you said, City's a great team. I guess it means fine margins. There's no shame in losing out to Pep Guardiola and their quality players.
I think it was squad depth, wasn't it? We just didn't have enough players that could fill in when others were injured, or we didn't really have any suspension. So when players were injured, that the players that were coming in just weren't quite up to the same level. It was too big a drop off. That's reason number one. And also, we shouldn't shy away from maybe the defending. I think overall, defending in the second half of the season could have been a lot better. A lot has been said about William Saliba's absence. It's absolutely correct. Like, the stats don't lie. Like, we are incredibly stronger when he's around. But we can't just put it on William Saliba. I think that we made a few mistakes. We looked a little bit vulnerable to longer passes, over the top, to a few counters. So we just got to sort of adapt and tweak our tactical approach a little bit to fix that. I do think that Declan will help big time on those quick transitions that we have problems with, because he's a natural defender. I think he's going to be able to get in those positions and sort of make sure that if our fullbacks are stranded, that he gets back in and makes sure that we've got three quality defenders to try and cope with those attacks. So yeah, squad depth and a drop off in defensive quality. I think they were the reasons.
I agree fantastically with what you said. And I want to ask you, because I agree with the point you eloquently made there about, we can't just pull it on Saliba. I think no one can negate the fact of, as you said, statistically, we're a much better team with William Saliba in the side. Clearly, he's a quality centre half. But injuries, suspensions, loss of form, changing dynamics, them things happen. And with the greatest of respect to Rob Holding, I know he's been, subject to a lot of criticism. I wanted to ask you, do you think Kirill should have, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but do you think Kirill should have been introduced a lot sooner? Because he looked amazing towards the end of the season.
Yeah, you look at that, don't you? Like, none of us knew. Mikel Arteta didn't know, did he? That was probably the best bet. And I think if he had another go at it, Mikel Arteta, he probably wouldn't have put Rob in, and he would have gone for Kivior. And look, it might have got us 3 more points, but whether it would have got us the title is another matter, really. The other thing that really we should look back on, I think, well. This was a negative, was maybe the form of the central midfield towards the end of the season, because it had been brilliant, hadn't it? It had been absolutely stellar throughout the campaign, but we did drop off. I think Thomas Partey's form,
I agree,
towards the end, and we obviously had Jorginho that came in instead of him because of that disappointing form. So what we've done over the summer, or what Mikel Arteta and the coaching staff and Edu have done, maybe identify that area and think, well, let's bring in some younger legs. And obviously Declan takes 6 years off Partey, takes even more of Jorginho. So yeah, a bit more power, a bit more athleticism in that central midfield. And obviously with Havertz, even though he's an attacking player, he's 6 years younger than Granit Xhaka. So I think that maybe we looked a bit leggy towards the end of the season. I think because Mikel played the same team, didn't he? Virtually the whole campaign. So with Xhaka and Partey, I think it caught up with him a little bit with their sort of legs getting into their 30s. So I think they also identified we need a bit more athleticism, some younger legs. So yeah, they're the reasons, but ultimately City just about did enough, didn't they?
I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think City's experience probably just made the difference. As you said, the centre mids with the age and whatnot. Obviously, I'm happy to see Declan Rice, and we'll get onto him. And I'm going to ask you about Havertz. That further brings our age down. We can't not speak about last season and not speak about the manager. Now, personally, for me, I think it's kind of been somewhat obvious what Arteta's wanted to do from the moment he stepped into the club, even when he didn't necessarily have the personnel. But I think off the back of the last 2 years now, and especially the one we've just gone, everyone can be amazed by what he's done. What have you learned about the manager this season? And is there anything that you want to see more? Is there any potential mistakes he made or anything like that?
Yeah, he's improved, hasn't he? He's like all the young players, you see, because he's a young manager.
Exactly.
He didn't have that experience before. He's learning on the job, as do young players coming through. So yeah, we've seen sort of steep rise in his quality. I mean, the quality of the football's great, isn't it? I mean, it's
Champagne,
very
man.
good to watch. Very good to watch. I think that I like the variety of it as well. We're not afraid to go longer now when it's on to do so. So many forward passes, so many progressive passes. I really enjoy the sort of the interchanging of positions with Jesus and Xhaka and Martinelli on that side. You had Saka and Odegaard on the other. And White. I love those little triangles in the wide areas. I thought that they will kind of set us apart from other teams. I think that also Mikel Arteta had a bit more trust in his subs this year. He started to think of some of them as impactors. Someone like Reece Nelson's a good example. I think
Cult hero now.
Yeah, exactly. He realised, he thought, hang on, I think Reece has something to offer here. I'm going to keep putting him on, and he came good, and I think that gave Reece confidence. Hopefully, we get that from Emile Smith-Rowe this year. Obviously, he gave Fabio Vieira a lot of opportunities from the bench last season. Maybe it didn't work as often with him as it did with some of the other players, but yeah, I think he just improved in everything really. In terms of what he could do better, I think it probably is, but it is hard. It's hard to pinpoint too many faults. I'd say it's this year. The test for him will be rotating properly, because last season Europa League was secondary because of our title push, so he didn't have to really think about rotation. This season he might have to because of the Champions League, and because you've got to go strong, haven't you? In the Champions League, you've got to put a really, really top team out, which might mean you have to make 2 or 3 changes on a Saturday or Sunday. Is he going to make the right calls with those changes? Is he going to take the right players out at the right time and swap them in properly? And yeah, I've got trust that he will. But that's the next challenge for him. But looking at the form of some of the guys, Trossard in particular, we do have plenty of class there that can come in and make a difference.
And I think touching on what you just said there, I think, Arteta, rightly so, hasn't always trusted all of his players, but naturally as he gets more players in, there's more scope for rotation. And, you look at someone like Declan Rice, he raises the curtain of our midfield. If you can't raise the curtain, just make sure it doesn't drop off, as we saw last season. And he will have to do that, because we're not going into this season somewhat as a breath of fresh air. There's almost a degree of expectation. I'll be keen to see if we've got a tough game on the Saturday, Sunday, and a tough game on the Tuesday, Wednesday in the Champions League, particularly if we make, hopefully, the knockout stages, what he exactly does. Lastly, on the bracket of last season, who would you say is the young player and player of the season for you?
I think they got it right. I think who got player? It was Odegaard that got the official player.
I think it was Odegaard.
Yeah, so
he didn't give it to Saka for a change.
No, yeah. I mean, either of those were deserving winners, in my opinion. I think Odegaard just shaded it. Obviously, so many goals, lots of assists as well. He really stepped it up, I thought, last season. Superb. Saka was brilliant as always. I thought that Martinelli really kicked on last season as well.
He's got double figures in the league.
Yeah, exactly. He took his game to a new level. I mean, all of them did, didn't they? I mean, all of the starters had cracking campaigns. I thought Ben White was great for most of last season. He maybe dropped off a little bit at the end as well. But but I thought I loved his relationship with Saka. Like it was kind of telepathic. They were just knocking the ball around for fun between them. Some lovely little combinations. Odegaard as well joining in. That was a real treat to watch that at times. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, everybody performed, and it's just a case of now of can you do even better? Because if we want to win the league, we're going to have to do a little bit better, aren't we? So yeah, that's the next challenge.
Yeah, you have to near enough be perfect against Manchester City. Going on a point you said, one thing I liked about Arteta tactically is, in previous years, we've either been very good on the left-hand side, more so when Kolasinac was there, or we've been very good down the right-hand side. In without Xhaka actually occupied wide positions at times. So I believe in everything you're saying there, and I think we're looking better. And I think when people look at how we can push towards the title, of course, signing new players and things like that, that is seen as the sexy. So that I can't disagree. Have you seen any evolution in what Mikel Arteta has shown initially to now in pre-season and building blocks and stuff?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to pick up on was that I forgot to mention when you said what could he improve on. I think it's maybe the approach against City or against in those real tough games. I think if there's one team you've got to change it up for, it is City.
It's Man City, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't really do that. We went with the same way. We played the same style. We got a little bit exposed. So I just think with Declan coming in, we might see a more solid approach in those games. So it might be Declan and Partey, maybe more of a two. If not definitively, the way it turns out in the games, at least we'll have two more defensive-minded players in there. So that's part of the evolution for sure. And I just think there's going to be even more rotation because of Havertz and Martinelli and Trossard and Jesus. I mean, these guys want to just play in each other's positions, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's interchanging. It's quite crazy.
Exactly. We saw that against Barcelona. I thought they were all sort of in different positions at various points. Quite a lot of the time, Havertz was up top, Jesus was left, and Trossard inside, and it was like it was rotating the whole time. Think about being a defender trying to mark that.
You can't pick up a moving target, really and truly.
It's giving you a headache. So yeah, I think even more rotation, bits more steel.